This episode is brought to you by Anivia Pickleball, your premier destination for high-quality pickleball paddles designed to elevate your game. At Anivia, they are committed to providing players across Canada with innovative, performance-driven pickleball paddles crafted for durability, precision, and ease of play. Irene and myself are currently using their Gen 3 Pro paddle, and if you head over to anivia.com and enter the code AGorman15, you get 15% off your order. That's AGorman15 at anivia.com. All right, on with the show. All right, we are back. How's it going, Vic?
Good. How are you doing? Little sick, but getting better finally.
Super good. Super excited. We got our CNPL signings. We got the official announcement that minor league pickleball is going to be the intro into the pros in Canada starting next year. So we got lots to talk about. So let's jump right into it. Right. So for those of you who weren't paying attention on Instagram, which is where or Facebook, where most of the posts came. So we'll start with people coming back. So the Brewers re-signed their best mixed pair with Mark Clemenson and Amanda Rosati. So that's a very formidable pairing to start with. Just fell short of in the finals last year to the Lions. Vic, your thoughts on that?
I think it makes sense because they are the strongest pairing, right? You want to secure at least one male, one female on their part. Obviously, they know they're gonna lose their second female, which is Victoria Dimuzio. We'll get onto her a little bit later. So they have to at least secure one pairing at least in order to make a strong one for this year.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah. So so really good signings there. Yeah, like we had Mark as listed like our best offensive player last year. Amanda was right up there as well. And I know Amanda's gone down to the States a couple of times and done pretty well down there. So definitely a very strong pairing coming back. So big shout out to the Brewers for that. Then we have the newly formed London Smash. Which I think is now that we've gotten the updates, it's the former Northern Rollers. And they've signed Ryan Torrenson and Jessica Kawamoto. Once again, no surprising. I think next to Clemenson and Rosati, that was the best mixed pair last year in the CNPL.
I definitely agree. And you have Jessica Kawamoto, which is one of the best female out there. So that definitely makes sense. You want to sign her. And Ryan Torrenson, also another very good, talented male player.
Yeah, absolutely. He was just a powerhouse last year, and then the two of them, yeah, I think they were like 28-5 or something like that last year as a mixed team. So great signing there. Toronto United, just signing Matt Kawamoto back. Now I understand this. Like they tried to run it back last year, kind of got screwed over with the contract with Hannah Blatt not allowing her to play. So I understand why they're keeping Matt and kind of starting fresh, like because like it didn't work out as well. Because when you drop from Hannah, and this is no shot against the ladies who played for the Toronto United last year, but that's a big drop down from having Hannah and then not having her, because like your secondary female now becomes your best female player, right? So they were a little bit lacking in that, and then some of their other male players were a little bit inconsistent last year. So I understand starting fresh and seeing what else is on the table, because there is a lot of really good male players coming up. So
yes, and also I think last year Matt I think he didn't play, or he started slow and then picked up the pace at the end only. So they're probably gonna want to look at some newer option to to help him out, probably, because definitely Matt Kawamoto, he has already made a name of himself. He's definitely a very solid player, but you still want to back up with some other player that can help him out.
Yeah, exactly right. And then the only other team that did signings was the Lions. They are pretty much running it back. They kept Ernesto, LC, and Anne Sophie. So really no surprise there. Ernesto and LC were by far the best men's pair last year. Anne Sophie, it was funny because like she was pretty much an unknown to us at the beginning of last year, but then by the end of it was a really, really strong female player. Like her and Ernesto made an insanely formidable mixed team. So the Lions pretty much almost running it back, but once again, this is going to be a really, really strong team. I can't wait to see who they pick for their fourth starter.
Yes. Well, who was their fourth player? Just to take a
Jake
look. It was
Cassandra.
Jay Cassandra. I think Jay Cassandra went to the States or something like that. That's I might be wrong. So that's what's the reason why they're not signing all their player. Obviously, Ernesto and Luis Xiao is always the best choice. There's they're one of the most formidable team in the males. So and for sure you definitely want to sign some them. And I'll say Anne Sophie was also very important integral part of their team. So being able to secure most of their players beforehand is a big plus.
Yeah, exactly. Now, no other team re-signed anyone. There has been, I guess we'll address this a little bit. There has been some rumors and stuff where a lot of these other teams don't have team owners. They're owned by the league right now. And of course, when it's owned by the team, it's hard to draft players, right? Because then it's like, okay, we don't want to show any particular team favoritism by drafting specific players in a specific order. Like I know last year they did like re-signs where they re-signed a player or two, and then the players kind of made the decisions of who to draft after that, right? Which led to some issues. Like I know there was some players drafted that didn't work out. You could and there was some drama behind the scenes, which we won't really get into with that type of stuff. So I understand why, like, okay, we're gonna start fresh, let the players go. Now I know they are looking for ownership and stuff, especially in the western part of Canada. For some of these teams, I'm a little disappointed with Western Canada right now with not having someone step up to be an owner. But yeah, me and Irene are going to be going to the showdown. So Irene is still available for whoever does end up doing the draft. I don't know if I'm putting myself in the draft. I am going to play at the Amateur Showdown, which was, like I said, one of the nice things about the Amateur Showdown this year. You could sign up to play in that, but you don't necessarily have to stick yourself in the draft. Right, because I know, especially after the NAPP thing, I know there's a lot of things I need to work on first before I think I'm ready for pro level. However, if I do put on a really good showing while we're down there, I just might, okay, here's the $50, toss me in the draft type of thing like that, right? So mine will be more of a how I did while I was down there type of thing before I make that decision. Because of course the draft isn't until like April, I think 4th.
Yeah,
so
something like that's pretty close to that.
Yeah,
timing.
so a couple of days after the Okanagan showdown. So I'll have like 3 days to make that decision. So.
Well,
But,
you never know. You never know. You might.
You never know. Like so far, I know like the Ontario showdown is like full to the brim with teams. You see a lot of returning pros there, like Carolina Hack, Mark Godfrey, Jonas Stahl here, Christina Chin. All those players are playing in the Ontario one. The Quebec one's not really, or the Montreal one's not really quite as full. I would like to see a lot more players sign up for that. Our Western one right now, there's only 4 teams. Me and Irene haven't put our team in yet because we were trying to get partners solidified, but we might just stick the 2 of us in come next week just to make sure that we save a slot, because I'm interested to see now that the rosters are announced, or at least the re-signings, if you see a lot more people sign up. Thinking, okay, well, there's all these open roster spots. Let's see if I have a chance, right? Type thing. And also with the opening up of the draft to international players and U18 players. I know we have a couple of young kids here in Alberta, at least, who make a decent case to at least get looked at for the draft. So
definitely. So definitely, if you're definitely interested, it's time to get in, since there's not a lot of players signed in those teams, so you will get much bigger chance to get selected.
Yeah, right. And like, put it this way, if some pros don't sign up, hey, that's more roster spots. Someone's got to play. Someone's got to fill the spots. And even if it's someone who we would consider, like, if you compare it to like last year's, maybe lower level, like that would more be a substitute. But now they're like a starter. Hey, like, you're going to be playing against some of the best players in Canada. So like, you're only going to get better through that. Right. And who knows, you put on a good show, you get a lot better. You can the opportunities that playing in a league like this presents is insane. Like, if we just look at like Ernesto and Christina Chen, like, yes, Christina had a really massive following already on Instagram, but you can't tell me that playing in the CNPL the last 2 years did not help propel that to like the status of where she was nominated on the Dink as a pickleball influencer. Right? Like, so, and then same thing with Ernesto. Like, you and me, like, we had a rough idea of who Ernesto was before CNPL last year.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But after
we
the
didn't know him.
He's gone on to help out with like duper sessions in China. Like, he's gone to all these huge events. I know he's gone down for a couple of APA tournaments and things like that. Like, his social media and like what some people would say, his stock has like skyrocketed since then, right? So like, I don't understand, like, if you're on the fence, like if you're considering becoming pro and you live in Canada, like, why like, I understand, like, still go down and compete in some of these events in the States, but go into the homegrown pro level, play against the Canadian pros that are across the country that you haven't played with, unless it's like the once a year at nationals, right? Like, if you like, think about it, you get to play against like Matthew Kawamoto like 6+ different times at this pro level event, and then you like, and if you're lucky at nationals, you might run into him once.
If
right? Like,
if you're the correct draw.
Yeah, exactly, right? So like, it gives that much more opportunity for it, right? So me and Irene are going to be there. Victor's our emergency guy if his knee gets better in time. He's already promised me that, which it's getting closer to me saying, "Okay, Vic, you're just coming now." But no, yeah. So it's like, get out to these events. Here, we'll say the dates again. So the first event is in Montreal, and
the dates have changed,
moved
right?
to March 15th, and that's at the Royal Westcourt Social Club in Montreal. The next event, which is already sold out, so if you didn't get into this one, maybe go to the Montreal one if you live on the East Coast. It's at Smash Pickleball in London, Ontario on March 22nd. And then, of course, we have the one in Vernon, the Okanagan Showdown at the OWA Pickleball Complex in Vernon on March 29th. And me and Irene will be there for sure. Maybe Vic as well, depending on, like we said, how it goes. But no, yeah, like, this is a great opportunity. Like, even if you don't get drafted, if you get eyes on you, and especially with the minor league pickleball, which we're going to talk about like almost right away here, with that coming up, already getting eyes on you, and then getting into that, just like I said, build your stock. Like, if you're one of those high level players who maybe doesn't have a sponsor yet, like I said, I lucked out with Anivia. Like, they saw the podcast, they like this, they saw how well me and Irene were doing, but it was definitely the podcast first that got the eyes on us, and then we got the sponsorship, right? But like, there's players who are higher level than me who don't have a sponsor yet. Like, come in and play in this event, get eyes on you. These people have, like, playing at this level, you have the people from EULA have eyes on this. The people at Selkirk have eyes on this. Like, Anivia has eyes on it. Like, so many, like Gearbox, all those big names. They tune into these events, and if they see a player they really, really like, they'll reach out. Or like, even if you reach out to them saying, "Hey, I'm looking for a paddle sponsor," and then you can send them highlight reel footage of how you've done at these events. Like, it creates opportunities for players. And like we said, pickleball is turning into one of those travel sports, like, not as bad as hockey, right? With the expenses, but there's a lot of travel involved, especially in Canada, where we are very spaced out. Like, if you just look at me, like, I can't go to provincials this year. in Alberta, because provincials is in Medicine Hat. And it's 12 hours away from me. I had to pick between provincials and nationals. Nationals are in Winnipeg. That's an 18-hour drive. But either way, because of the work I do, I had to take a week of annual leave for either of them. And I was like, okay, well, I'm going to pick nationals because it's 5 days over 3, right? So that's how I looked at it that way. So I'm like, but hey, like with CNPL, if I like I said, I don't think I'm ready for that. But like I said, if I perform really well at the play-in, I might throw my name in the hat again for the draft. Who knows? Maybe I'm charismatic enough that a team wants me, even just as a bench player, to hype up the team. Right?
Or you never know, you might be the team manager.
Or something like that. Yeah, and anything like that. Like,
right?
Depends on how much they like my opinion on stats and stuff. Because, like, I guess some players have really liked how we've addressed certain things here. But
so that's why I was like, maybe some team wants you to be the team manager. Never
or
know.
the social media account person. I don't know, type of thing, right? But yeah, so like get out to these events. We especially need more, like, for people saying, "Oh, the West doesn't get a lot of representation." This is your chance. Get your butt out there, try out. You never know. Like, Irene came really close to getting drafted last year. A lot of people considered her a snub. I think she's got a really good chance this year of getting drafted, especially if she puts on a good showing at the Ocon. Hence why I'm trying to put a really strong team together for her so that she can put on a good showing. But like, I'm getting tired of people saying, "Oh, well, you know, I don't know. Is it worth it?" I'm like, who cares? Like, if you go and you don't get picked, who cares? You just got to play. Because put it this way, if you're talking about the Okanagan one, Casey Rogers is going to be there. Matt Sadola is going to be there. Michael McCaffrey is going to be there. Chris Elaine's going to be there, right? These are people who have already played in the CNPL. You're going to play against them at least once. So you can use it as a litmus test. Okay, how close am I to this pro level? Am I just a little bit short? Do I have a lot to work on? Right? And then you also get to mingle with like the owners of the CNPL. Some of the teams are going to have representatives there that you can mingle with and talk to as well. Like, it's not just playing and competing and trying to get signed. It's also networking.
Yeah.
Right. So like get out there. I want to see 20 teams at the Okanagan one. Like I said, right now there's 4 full teams signed up. Like, me and Irene are putting a team in. I'm probably going to eventually on Instagram saying, "Okay, who wants to play with us?" and send out a thing, right? But so that's at least going to be 5 teams there. I want to see the 20, right? Yeah. Anyways, that was my little rant on that. But moving on to minor league pickleball. So it is official. Minor league pickleball starting next year is going to be the road to get to the pros. So they're going to have events this year. Like we said, there's one in Burnaby. When is that again, Vic? April 5th?
No, the one in Burnaby is in May, isn't it?
May.
Let me double check. Pretty sure it's on this one's in they announced 2 of them was in May.
Okay, so I think it's like May 5th and 6th then, or something like that. I know that.
Sorry, my bad. April 5th.
I was right. Okay.
Yeah, you're right.
We got Burnaby April 5th, and then there's one in Toronto. What time?
Yeah, Vaughan in the brand new high sport Vaughan complex that they just opened this weekend with the high sport team. Congratulations for them. And April 26th.
Yeah. So those are the first 2 events. We're pretty sure we have something coming. Is it late April or May in Edmonton?
Right now they're planning to be late April. It's gonna we have confirmation. News flash. That will be one in Edmonton, that's for sure, and it will be at the YEG, so the YEG pickleball. Date is still to be confirmed, but for now we're aiming at the end of April because there is not much happening during that timing. Otherwise, they probably do it in the first couple of weeks of May.
Yeah. So for all of you Edmonton players, get a team together and get into that, because like we said, this is now going to be the gateway into the pros, and the reason why is because stat tracking. So and the other thing is with the minor league pickleball, it leads to possible money prizes. Why wouldn't you sign up for this?
Well, not just money prizes. You got to represent Canada at the finals next year. against the best of the US teams. So therefore, one, you get the money. Two, you got to get much bigger exposure against those big teams in the States.
Exactly, right? So it's like so like I said, it has that regional effect, it has that national effect, and then like a worldwide effect. So like this is, if you're into the team stuff, which I've really enjoyed playing in those type of events, this is the thing to get into. And like I said, it leads in like what we called it a feeder league for the CNPL. So all the really good players from that, if you're performing well in that at those settings, you're going to get looked at by the CNPL. They're going to have the stats from how well you played in mixed, how well you played in your specific gender doubles. If it went to a dream breaker singles, how well you did in that, right? So, and the nice thing about that is they have separate divisions depending on your team's combined duper. The highest is 22, which isn't always going to be available depending on the event, but then it's 20 when it was at 2019, 18, 16, and 14.
No, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, and 22.
Okay, so going up by twos. Yeah. So like for you brand new players who want to try a team event, they have a 12. Like if you're all just 3-0 players, right? They have a 12. If for those of you who are like 3-5, they have the 14. For those of you getting into 4-0, that's what the 16s and 18s are for, right? And for those of us who are like, almost touching that 5-0 spot, that's what the 20 is for, or the 22 is for, depending on like your mix of players, right? So it has that team aspect, which is always fun to play because even when you're off the court, you're cheering for the other members of your team, and it leads into that. So like if you perform really well, that same thing, it's exposure. It's growing the game in Canada, which is what we want. Like the more you grow the game and like as much as people say pickleball is a rec sport still, you need to grow the professional side and the super competitive side to have more funding for the rec. The rec is not going to bring in money. I'm sorry to say it for all of you who just play rec and are always saying, well, why can't we get this? Why can't we get that? It's because you're not supporting the professional side. The reason why hockey makes so much money is because it leaks down from the professional side.
Yeah.
Like,
well,
beer league hockey does not make money. Beer league hockey becomes popular because it's people who are getting out of the high level sports still wanting to play. Like if you played, I don't know, double A, or I don't know all the different levels of hockey, but you still want to play. The only reason why beer hockey exists is for those players who are, I can no longer play like that high level, but I still want to play. Right. Difference is with pickleball, it started in like what you would call almost beer league and now is transitioning to that. It didn't start with the pro stuff and then had beer league as the side effect. It started with the almost what you would call beer league and now has the pro as the effect. But if you don't support the pro, especially in Canada, you're going to lose all these really good players to the States. You're going to still lose them to the States eventually anyways, because the PPA is there, the APP is there. But if you can even keep those pros and develop them for an extra like 2 or 3 years and then send them to the States, they're going to go down and play and perform a lot better. They're not just going to go down and they're out in the round of 32, or they're not even making it to the round of 32. Right? Because they've been playing, because if they're playing each other at a constant high level, they're used to playing at that high level, not going to a tournament where they're the only like pro level player and then they're just like sweeping everyone. They're just basically showing up there to pick up their medal because they're playing people like me and Vic. Right? So like you want all the best players playing each other. That's what grows the game. That's what brings money in. Right? That's what's going to get you big sponsors like a Tim Hortons or a McDonald's or like a Subway or like a TD Bank or something like that, or like an RBC type sponsorship, or getting like a Sportsnet or TSN broadcast happening in Canada, right? Like the program has to grow, so then that and it's then the rec benefits from it.
Yep. Well, right? you need this, and you also we need that viewership, right? Because if you don't have viewership, then the sponsors are not going to come in, right? I will take an example. I was coming from a tennis background. If there's a I'm not batching on the junior, but you have a junior tennis playing, and you have a real ATP matches playing. Which one you're going to watch first? Probably the ATP matches rather than watching Washington juniors, because they're so much higher level, right? And then not only that, because some when you have viewership, then some people will start having idol. Oh, I want to be the next Roger Federer. I want to be the next Rafael Nadal. Now in the PPA side, I want to be the next Ben Johns. I want to be the next Anthony Waters, right? So people going to start viewing them, still idling them, and that's where the viewership and all the sponsorship is going to be pouring in, right?
Yeah, exactly, right? So it's one of those things. It's like, and it's been frustrating here in Alberta a bit because you're starting to see, I guess we're going to blend right into this. And I know we said we'd save this for later, but I'm going to blend this I'm going to blend this together where, I know especially in Alberta, but it's happening all over Canada, it's complacency. Everyone's happy with where they are, but then they're complaining that, oh, well, we don't have these facilities. We don't have enough facilities. We don't have enough of this. Well, you know what brings facilities to your area? Money.
Mm-hmm.
What gets money? Sponsorships, pro stuff, viewership, right? Like, it drives me nuts that like we have the Rays Athletic Center in Edmonton and it's not being utilized enough. Right? We have, and that's why I love about the Egg. I love that the Egg is taking this minor league pickleball on, because one, it's going to drive membership there, right? It's going to grow that. So then they're going to have more, they're going to have more money to like put on more clinics for people. They're going to have more money for other things that they can provide for people attending their thing, right? Like, I don't understand why all of the places in Edmonton don't jump on this. Like, because what do we got? We have the Egg, we have the Hub, we have the EPC, we have Rays. Hub, EPC, and Rays should all host an event in Edmonton throughout the year, like rotate each section. Like if unless the Egg wants to host it the entire time, like I don't care, do one tournament a month type of thing, right? But like, this is the opportunity to grow. You get viewership because you want like broadcast it on a YouTube channel. And like we said, it doesn't have to be, it's minor league. It doesn't have to be like fancy. We're not expecting CNPL level broadcasting. Just toss a camera up there with a mic so you catch the play. Make sure the video quality is good, and just have it on YouTube for people to go back and look at how they play. Like, because not everyone has a camera that sits on the fence and records their matches, but they're like, after all, how did I play? Right. Well, hey, it's on YouTube. Go watch it. Right. And it's like, oh, hey, like, for example, like me and Irene, we don't always bring our kids with us. So like when we were playing at NAPP, I was like, hey, mommy and dad are going to be on court 1. Go ahead and tune into the NAP website and watch mommy and daddy play. Right. And then so they watch that with my mom and dad. Right. So it's just one of those things where it's like, get out to it, get this, and then like I said, the more viewers, the more sponsorships. Then like, so like, for example, if the first event at the end of April, if it happens at the end of April for YEG, say we get a crap ton of teams out to that and they put it on YouTube, and say they get over 1,000+ viewers on it, right? They can then reach out to, say, like, pick a big local company in Edmonton. I don't know. Vic would know this better than I, but then they can come back and say, look, we had this many viewers throughout the day on this one event, right? So if you want to sponsor,
I was planning to say the Edmonton Oilers, but that would be a little bit too much. But anyway,
yeah, like, but yeah, like you know what I mean, like, but it's like, okay, we had this event, we had this many athletes there, it was watched by this many people during like timeouts, during like in between games. Give us a commercial, we can throw it up for you, right? We can have your banner, like, this could be like, say for example, RBC, just throwing out an example. We could have an RBC banner right at main court, so that every time someone turns on the TV, they see the RBC logo right there while the game's going on, type of thing, right? Like that. And so that brings more money in. They can then do more things. Like I said, they can hire more pro coaches. They can get more. They could sponsor a pro player and be like, this is the YEG pro, like a high, like, or be able to provide that pro with more training stuff, right? Like things like that. So it's like, and what's driving me nuts, like I said, with Alberta right now, is you're getting groups of high-level players just playing amongst themselves. They're not going to tournaments anymore because, like, well, why would I pay when I can just play the same people for drop-in fee? I'm like, yeah, but when you go play high competitive rec with no stakes, you don't play the same you do in a tournament.
Mhm.
And like one of my best examples is I know there's a couple groups in Red Deer who do that, but then I beat them when I go down and play them in provincials or when I play them in Red Deer Open. I'm like, oh well, you're so good. Why am I beating you then? You know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah, and
essentially, if you
there's
go
two.
by that sense, they should be clean sweeping every tournament. Oh, we're not going to
Well,
go because we're going to win. I'm
there's
like,
two
okay,
things
prove it.
though, Andrew. I think
Huh?
there's two main reasons. Well, I'm little guilty, to be honest, of being that group, but I kind of understand what some of the reason. One of the big reason I think is they don't feel like they're those group of people right now. They don't feel like there is enough incentive to go play in those tournament, because they felt like, well, when I'm gonna play on those tournament. First of all, unfortunately, some of those tournaments have very low showing, and that's very apparent for some reason in the Edmonton area. So which forces those higher level players just playing among themselves, and then they say, "Well, why am I playing that paying that fees in order to go play against someone that I just I I can." I can play on a weekly basis. And then the second major factor, and that's unfortunately that's my rant against those tournament. The tournament fees is getting higher, but we're getting less and less things in return, right? We used we used to have quite a bit of snacks, quite of other incentive like gifts when the players go play in those tournaments. But right now we're basically feeling the effect of the inflation. Basically, every year the tournaments increase 5, 10, $20 per event, while the snack go cut in half. Basically, like you used to have a banana, now you have like half of a banana to eat. So a lot of those players feels like, well, why am I playing those tournament in order to get a medal that I already got from that tournament? Okay, probably in a lower level, but now I have to kind of almost to suffer in order to go play in those tournaments. That's kind of my thinking of it in the current situation.
Oh no, yeah, and I understand that. Like some of these tournament hosts have to do more. Like we've said before, put up some type of cash prize. Like you're having this many teams buy in, even if it's just getting your money back. You know what I mean? Like first place gets their money back, second place gets half their money back, third place gets like a quarter or whatever. You know what I mean? But like the other thing that people don't realize, or I guess, and I don't know, maybe it's because I played high level competitive sports my entire life. There's a difference between playing high competitive rec. I don't care if you're playing the same people at the tournament, than playing in a tournament when it matters, when wins and losses matter. It's a different mindset. I don't play, like, for example, like players in my club. I do not play this, like, regardless of who I'm playing with. Say it's me and Irene versus, for example, Chris and Nicole from our club, who Victor knows really well. Chris and Nicole are two very, very good players. And like when me and Irene play them, say we do a mix and then we'll rotate, like I'll play with Nicole, Chris will play with Irene, and then we'll do a guys versus girls, whatever, for like a 2-hour, 2.5-hour session. They're all very, very high competitive games, and we're getting a good sweat on. We're playing really hard. It's completely different than if me and Irene run into them in a tournament. It's a completely different mindset. There's shots I'm going to take in a tournament at them that I let up on, even if we're playing high competitive rec. There's strategies that me and Irene are going to implement at a tournament that we don't implement in that high competitive rec because we're working on our game. We're not working on strategy. We're working on our game, whether it's specific shots, specific, like trying to read things and stuff like that. So for all those players who don't go to tournaments saying, well, I can pay less and go play these same people, it's not the same. I'm sorry, it's not. I can play Vic. Me and Irene could play Vic and pick a partner of Vic's choice in rec at any facility in Edmonton. And yes, we're going to try hard. Me and Vic are going to take shots at each other. Vic's going to try and body bag me. I'm going to try and make Vic look silly with my spins while we do that. However, if I run into Vic at a tournament, and Vic can attest to this because he's played against me when I had a partner who was a little bit older, he did not hit a single shot to me.
Oh yeah.
He avoided me like I was the plague. Vic does not play like that against me in high competitive rec. So my thought on that is, I'm sorry, you could be a 5-0 at high competitive rec. You're not a 5-0 at tournament unless you prove it.
Unless you win,
right?
Probably.
And there's players who they get nervous. They grip the paddle tighter. They make mistakes they don't normally make because it's stress. That's the whole point of competitive sports. It's can you perform under pressure? Can you perform when you've made a mistake and the chips are down when it matters? If you lose this set, you're done. Your tournament's over. Type of thing. Whereas rec, it's like, oh, we lose this game, we're just going to switch sides and we're going to play again for another hour and a half. It doesn't matter. When it matters, that's where you see high-level players excel and where you see who the rec players are. Right? So that's my beef with Canada as a whole right now. Alberta specifically, and I'm sorry for those of our listeners who are from Alberta. If you think I'm taking a shot at you, I'm not trying to be mean. But until you beat me at a tournament, I don't consider you better than me. Whether your duper says you are or not. Okay? And like I said, I'm sitting at a 4-7 right now or whatever, so I'd be playing in a 4-5 and up, or I'd be playing in the open. Unless you beat me at a tournament, I'm not showing you the respect of being a higher level player than me. Unless you've been consistently winning open categories. So yes, Chris Elaine, Brad Chapman and all them, they have my respect for that because they've been doing it at that level consistently. But other players who have a higher ranking than me because they've been playing duper matches with their buddies in high competitive rec, I'm sorry, until you can go and do it at a tournament, say Alberta Provincials or Red Deer Open or Spruce Grove Season Open or Spruce Grove, whatever the other name of their event is, where it's a sanctioned tournament.
Or I just going to throw in minor league pickleball.
Or minor league pickleball, yes, which is what we were talking about before. Until you do it then, I'm sorry, you're not a 5-0. You're not a real 5-0. It's and because there's always people say, oh, I would have made pro if I would have had all these opportunities. I'm sorry. People who play pro work their butts off at it and they go and they win at tournaments. Yeah, there's no high level rec player that just randomly got drafted
himself, basically. Yep.
Right? You have to prove it. There's a reason why Irene is growing so strong on the women's side. She has gone to tournaments and consistently won. Consistently won. There's a reason why they considered her a snub last year in the draft. There's a reason why when I post a thing of her training for the showdown, why there's teams and other high-level players liking it. They see that she's putting in the work. They see that she's winning. Even if she doesn't get drafted this year, she's clearly putting in the work. She's earned the respect of a lot of female players in Edmonton and in Calgary because she's gotten messages saying, oh, we'd love to come play with you and stuff like that. Right? But it's because she's winning at tournaments. It's not because, oh, I played rec with her and she's really, really good and she's a really nice person. Yes, Irene is a really nice person. People love talking to her and stuff like that. But she's earning the respect because she's going to tournaments and she's winning. She's proving that she can do it at that high stress level, at that high level. So my issue with Canada, Alberta specifically, because I live here in Alberta and I see more of it here, it's until you prove it at the high level or at whatever level you're playing at a tournament, I'm sorry, beating someone in rec is you're just playing rec. There's no stress involved at all. Yep. Whether even if you have a beef with someone, there might be someone I don't like and I'm playing rec against them. Yeah, and I really want to beat them in rec, but I'm not making the same shots or making the same decisions as if it was a tournament. I'm playing way more strategy. Right? So this is a call for all of Canada. It's get your head out of your ass. Start supporting these pro levels. If you want to be a really good player, start competing in these high level tournaments. Not just playing with your buddies. If you think you're that good, go out and prove it. Don't come talk to me. Oh yeah, I'm a 5-0 player. Well, how many tournaments have you played in? Oh, one in the past 3 years. No, you're not a 5-0. You're a 5-0 rec player. You're not a 5-0 tournament player.
Yeah.
And like it's
You know,
it's driving me nuts. Like we should see so much more support. I mean, everyone's like, oh well, it's not as good as the US, like our pro stuff. I'm like, yeah, we're 3 years into like pro stuff being a consistent thing here in Canada. The CNPL started. You see some stuff happening in Ontario with like the APA.
yep.
There's like High Sports is putting on a bunch of like high level tournaments and stuff like that. And APP is doing a little bit of that type of stuff. But it's like we've had 3 years of like what you would call pro level stuff. It's literally like starting to build the foundation. Like I don't know why you're trying to compare it to MLP or PPA that's had 10 plus years of like sponsorships, developments. Like Annalie Waters has been a phenom since what, she was 14,
Yep.
right? So she's been a phenom for the past 4 years, right? And
Mhm.
pickleball already had a pro event before she ever came in and was playing,
Yep.
right? Like there's a reason why the US is so highly touted with that, because they have all these sponsorships, all these big name celebrities and athletes are buying into it because it's proven itself. The Canadian side is just getting into it. But if you don't go
Mhm.
in and support it, it's not going to grow. Canada's going to plateau, and we're always going to be considered a joke to the US.
Yeah, and we'll always be behind. And I will say my call, not only to the to our pickleball players, but also to our tournament. Like if you want to have some quality players starting to play on those tournaments, start thinking about giving out some prize money. Like Andrew said, doesn't need to be much. Maybe just getting your money back. That sometimes is a good incentive for those player to just show up and play. And that we can see it like in Ontario, some of the APA tournament, a lot of pros turn in and to play. There is some prize money. Are they gonna make a living of their prize money? No, but that's sometimes good incentive enough for them to come in. So that's will be my biggest suggestions to the tournaments.
Yeah, and it's a combination of both. Like I went really hard on the players, but yeah, tournament organizers, Pickleball Canada, all of the provincial pickleball, whatever you call them,
Body,
bodies,
government body, right?
you have to be pushing these high level events. You have to be promoting them. You have to give incentive for the pros to show up, because yes, like we said, this is turning into a travel sport. And for those of us who are parents of kids who have to travel for events, like hockey parents, like myself, a swimming parents, who knows what Victor's going to be eventually.
Eventually we'll see.
He's crossing his fingers that it's not hockey, because hockey's super expensive. But
Maybe by the time we'll be pickleball parents, we'll see.
yeah, right, exactly. But even that's, like I said, it's a travel sport. You're traveling a lot to go to these events. The events cost money. Like I said, even if you're just getting your money back, like you're shaving off some of my costs. Like I've lucked out and I've gotten sponsored by a really good company for my paddles, for my shirts and stuff like that, right? So that's like a good like if you think about how many paddles, like if you play consistent tournaments, you're going through at least what, one paddle a year type of thing. I'm not talking about people like Vic who buy 35 paddles. I'm talking about
Yeah,
people who
right
like
on the
usually,
back over there.
yeah, like who usually stick to like one paddle, because your paddle wears out eventually. So if we say one paddle a year, if you go to a bunch of tournaments, the fact that that's been now cut out of my budget, I don't have to worry about that, is a huge thing. It still costs a lot because, like I said, the closest tournament normally for me is 5.5 hours away. So that's gas, that's a hotel room normally, unless like I'm crashing on Vic's couch or my brother-in-law's couch type of thing, right? So it's like it's that's a lot. That's gas, that's a hotel, and then the tournament fee. So even if I get my tournament fee back, right, if I win, that makes it more worthwhile. It makes it more understanding of the budget, right? So like tournaments have, or like have a prize or something, like whether it's like you get the medal and you get, say it's the sponsor was, for example, Eula. Oh, we got a Eula hat and a Eula shirt or something like type thing, or like say it was Skechers and you got a pair of Skechers, or like a thing for 50% off or like $100 gift card for like the new Skechers store in Edmonton where you can go get pickleball shoes, right? Like something. And like, especially for nationals and provincials where there is a good bit of money coming into that, especially like I know for like for example, Pickleball Alberta, we have almost 700 athletes coming to that, right?
Yep.
Like, so you can't tell me there's not enough money coming in that pays for the court rentals and the referees, that there's not enough between like what sponsors also sponsor that we can't get some type of prize money or some type of prize pack, right? So, and especially for Pickleball Canada, I'm sorry, there's no way you can tell me there's not money there to get stuff. Like, yes, like I said, paying for refs, paying for the facility. You'd think the facility would give a discount because you have that many athletes coming in and using the facility and like buying local and stuff like that. But between sponsorships with Franklin and whoever else, sort of the big like Neil Brothers and all that, you can't tell me that you can't provide some type of package for either like, okay, whoever signs up. Like I do like how like EPC, like everyone gets a shirt for signing up, but then there's no medals at the end.
Yeah.
Right. So it's
And
like, no, it should be okay. If you want to do
yeah.
it, shirt for everyone who signs up and then still a medal. I don't care if it's a $5 medal, something that shows that I won type of thing. There's a reason why I have a big ass rack here behind me of all the medals me and Irene have won. The same thing with Vic. He's got his medal rack behind him as well. If you're watching us on the video, but it's you like there. We have to push past. This is a rec sport. I'm sorry if you want pickleball to grow. We have to get out of this rec sport mentality. Oh, everything's fine. I'm just going to play with my group of friends or my group of people. You have to push the tournaments. Tournaments have to provide more. It's a give and take for both. Players have to show up and compete. Tournaments have to provide more. Then the money will come in. You know what I mean? Like, and like same thing, the pro level. So like our pros have to show up. Our pros have to play. Then that gets, and like then people watch, and like it drove me nuts. Like, this is the third year for the CNPL and there were still people I talked to in Alberta. It's like, oh, I didn't know there was a pro league. And I'm like, you watch pickleball, right? And it's like, yeah. I'm like, you follow me on Instagram, right? I'm like, you not see how like 90% of my posts are talking about pro pickleball in Canada? Like, what the hell are you doing? Right? Like it's like you watch these, the more views they get, you don't have to go like, if you can't make it to a live event, that's fine. Watch it on YouTube. Even if you're only watching for 30 minutes, that view counts as a view for their, like the view stats on YouTube, right? They can then go and say, okay, hey, for our event, say, because they have one in Kamloops this year. So for our event in Kamloops, we had X amount of people at the event, and we had like, say, 5,000 people watch over the course of the weekend. They can then take those numbers to a potential sponsor, say, hey, we have this many people watching live. We have this many people at the event. Give it, like, do you want to sponsor us? Well, we'll put your banner up. Give us your little 30-second or 20-second commercial. Every time there's a play break, we'll stick the commercial in there. We'll have your banner up on like the main court. So anytime people tune in, they see your banner as one of the sponsors, type of thing like that. If you want to provide a little booth, and we can have a booth there, and then people can, like, even if it's like one of those mints, like a those mint containers with people's like companies on them, even if it's something like that for us to hand out. Like, they'll reach in the pocket to grab mint. Oh yeah, it was RBC, or oh yeah, it was Tim's, or oh yeah, it was this, right? Like, that's all you need to start. And then, like I said, like if you can like get enough views to the point where, like, say TSN or Sportsnet, because literally those are the only two sports places in Canada, because they have a monopoly. Even if it's on TSN 4 or Sportsnet 4, if it's on the broadcast, then all of a sudden you have all those sponsors from those companies tuning in, and then that's more money coming in.
Yeah,
and then
definitely.
that money, like I said, it's a trickle down effect. If it hits the pros, it works its way down to the centers, works its way down to rec. It's more opportunities, whether it's a cheaper discount on balls, whether it's a cheaper discount on if you want to go do clinics or whatever, right? Like, but if we don't get out and support these events and this pro stuff, pickleball is going to plateau in Canada. It's getting really close to plateauing right now, the way this is going.
Yeah.
And we're just going to be stuck. And as someone who wants to keep growing and getting better at sport, this might just be my mentality. I don't want pickleball to get stuck. Like, I know I might never get to the levels of, I know I'm probably never going to get to the levels like of a Ben Johns or an Annalie Waters. But if I can get myself playing where I'm running into a pro at, say, a quarterfinal or a semifinal at like a nationals event, I'd be really happy with that. Right? It shows that I'm improving in the sport. Or same thing, like, say if this podcast like insanely blows up, right? And then people are coming to us for like all the news and stuff for like pickleball in Canada, or like say if we get busy enough that we can do like a weekly thing and we're, pickleball world or whatever, right?
Mhm.
Like, I want pickleball to grow that much that it's no longer a niche sport. Right? Because
Yeah,
right now that's
we
what we
want
are.
to be
We're a
the
niche
people's
sport that
sport.
is a rec sport.
It's too
Right?
bad. Yeah, we'll hopefully we'll see. Hopefully, people will realize that, and then we'll just start going in supporting the pickleball. As especially the pro games that we're seriously lacking here.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So one more thing before we jump off the CNPL and minor league pickball, which we are super excited for. We have to give a huge shout out to Victoria Dimuzio, who played on the Brewers last year. She got drafted 11th overall in the MLP to the Atlanta Bouncers. That is huge. So a huge congrats to Victoria. That is awesome. We had her as our, what was it, our most underrated last year?
Something
Like,
like that.
we gave her our personal like award last year. Like, she played amazing last year in the CNPL for the Brewers, and it's awesome to go see her graduate and then get drafted, not just as a player on the team, but as a starter for the team. Like, she's not one of the bench players. She is one of the starting female players for the Bouncers, at least as of the draft. Right? So that is huge. So big shout out to Victoria for that. Big shout out to the Brewers for picking her last year when she was pretty much an unknown, and letting her cook all year long.
Is still a very good draft for her, especially in the into the Premier League of the MLP. So, which means that her efforts definitely got noticed by some of the teams in the USA, and she did actually play a couple the last PPA tournaments already, and she already shows that she can compete against those PPA level player, because she was able to go through the qualifier and then go all the way, I think, to the second or the third round into the women's. So which is a substantial.
Absolutely, yeah. So like we said, shout out to Victoria. We love seeing players graduate from the CNPL and go on to get like, and not just go in the PPA or the MLP, but like perform well as well, right? So big shout out to her. So moving on, seeing how we're talking about PPA, more drama with Adidas and Staksrud. Vic, do you want to take that one?
Okay, Fed Staksrud, right? So remember we talked about the last episode already. So at the last PPA Tucson, obviously Federico Staksrud is his starting as a Adidas signed player. Obviously, therefore, it means he has to play with an Adidas paddle, and it did not went well at all. Like, he first of all did not medal and did not even got past round 16, which is pretty rare. What's happening? So in the last tournament at the PPA Misa, apparently there's an agreement between Federico Staksrud and Adidas that until the Adidas able to provide a good enough paddle for him, he can still play with his old Yola. And for some reason, he's able to make it to some bronze medal matches in with his Yola paddle. Yeah, so basically he's a side player playing with a Yola paddle. So that was kind of interesting. Remember, I was saying paddle matters. Yes, paddle does matter, especially when you have a shitty paddle like Adidas. It does matter. Unfortunately, it's like same thing. Actually, I did a quick experiment. I gave a very shitty paddle. Sorry, I have it in my bag downstairs. The paddle is like almost like a cutting saw paddle. Remember that paddle I have, Andrew?
Yeah.
That's I called it. This is the paddle. When you are 5-0, you take this paddle, you became a 3-0 automatically. There's no way you can get past as a 3-0 with this paddle. So unfortunately, some of these paddle are actually not designed for performance. They're just designed for either for comfort or either for some other functionality that is not to have the aim to the performance into the game. And currently, especially in the high level pickleball, like in the PPA, if you don't have a paddle close performance with whatever that's in their competition, you will suffer greatly. So some paddles you already don't see in the PPA. Well, also they didn't submit their approval to the UPA. Think about the gearbox. No one's using gearbox in PPA anymore. The gamma paddles, no one using gamma paddles, neither in the PPA. But there's also a reason. Yeah, they didn't. You can argue, oh, they didn't submit to the UPAA government body to pass. Yeah, but there's another reason too. No one wants to sign with them. See that? So that's a reason why they got pulled. They didn't feel they want to go into the pro scene. So it is somewhat important that those company, when you pick the paddle, you want to make sure it also help you in your in your skills to level up, because at current level the paddle does matter.
Yeah, exactly. Or do we have actually a paddle or equipment corner today, Vic? Or
yeah, I can go quickly. I don't have I don't have the paddle with me, but I'll probably talk quickly in the Instagram page when I'll do a quick paddle review. I have recently got the Proton Flamingo, so which is a Series 3 project Flamingo. Obviously, you cannot buy anymore. It's already sold out because of the hype. What kind of hype? People's like, oh, why this paddle is so hype? Remember Quan Duong's change paddle during the match that took away his selker and they grab a paddle? That was the paddle. It was the Proton Flamingo. So, and then what was the paddle that Bao Dong, which is the his brother, that Nesty Nelson Quan Duong? There you go, the Proto Flamingo. So that's the reason that paddle got so much hype. I did play with it. It is a Gen 3 construction, which means it has a foam injected on the walls. This paddle is actually quite heavy to swing. So the static weight is not very high. The static weight is around 7.8 to 7.9 ounces, which you say, this is not super heavy. But the swing weight is at 127, which is fairly high. Even though it's elongated, I can feel it very substantially head heavy. This paddle. So like I do have suffer a little bit when I play on the on hand battles with this paddle because of the higher swing weight. But when most of the time when you have high swing weight, you have the other trade off. A good trade-off, which is higher twist weight. So the twist weight of this paddle is at 7.4. Why the twist weight, higher twist weight number matters means when the ball hits the paddle, it does not want to turn as much, and it also slightly ties in, means that paddle has a bigger sweet spot. So it means if you miss a little bit more on the corner, you'll still have enough energy. It's gonna propulse that paddle forward. So indeed, and I tested this paddle against the Yola 3S. It is not as powerful as the Yola 3S, but it still has a good amount of pop that you can control, and the feel is fairly unique. So how I describe this paddle is people that have played with the carbon true foam, the new carbon that came out, is basically you're playing with a carbon true foam, but having a little bit more pop close to a Yola 3S. That's what the paddle feels, and which is very I felt very satisfying. Another thing that paddle was very unique is their grit. The grit was fairly gritty. Not that you can stick it onto shirt, but it was very gritty that you can really shape the ball very well. Like other paddles, like I would say the Yola Mod or the 3S, basically the ball just bounce. When it hits the ball, it bounce back right away. This ball, because of the grit, you can really shape your topspin. And on top of that, because of how they did the construction of this paddle, it has a little better dwell time. Dwell time means the ball sit on the paddle a little bit more, so it also helps you to shape that topspin a little bit better. So I will say when the Yola Mod will be retiring this summer, this Proton Flamingo paddle, it's definitely one of the contender or the alternative to use. And one additional bonus, this paddle is UPAA approved and USAP approved. So means if you want to play at the PPA and also want to play in other USAP sanctioned tournament like the APP, no problem. You can play at any other tournament if you want to.
Nice. Perfect. All right. So speaking of paddles, we are going to do our first ever blind ranking. So for those of you who don't know how this works, I'm going to give Victor a list, and today we're going to pick paddles. He's got to rank them 1 to 5, 1 being the best, 5 being the worst. But I'm going to give him one paddle, and he's not going to know what's coming next. So
all right, let's see how it goes.
So he can stumble, or maybe we'll see if he nails this right off his first try. So we're doing paddles, best to worst.
Okay, let's go.
So speaking of which, the Proton Flamingo.
Let's put 2.
2. Okay. The Yola Magnus, yeah.
Magnus, is it the 3? Well, I'll assume it's a 3S, right?
We're assuming the newest version.
Okay. I want to put that 4.
4. Okay. So you got 1, 3, and 5 left.
Yeah.
Selkirk 008.
That's 5.
5.
That's no brainer. I'll explain why.
All right. So you got 1 and 3 left. Rhombus Ripple.
1, guarantee.
That's Victor's favorite
paddle. I'm so biased. I'm so biased.
Okay, so you have your automatic 3 is the Adidas metal bone.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Oh my God. You screw me badly.
Yeah. How do you like that list, Vic?
Oh my God, you screw me so badly. Okay, I think that 1 and 2 makes sense. I think the 1 and 2 that does make sense in my hands. I'll explain why Rhombus Ripple still is number 1. Probably not for everyone. It is very individual taste, because for me the Rhombus Ripple, especially the R1, has very low swing weight as a hybrid elongated shape, we call them, as around 118 swing weight, which is pretty low for this paddle. It's super fast at the hand, and this paddle is the most powerful, poppiest paddle in the market. For me, it's perfect because means all my counter, I just put my hands right there. The ball will just punch right back into my opponent's feet. Or my reset, I don't even need to dig the ball. I just put my paddle right there. My paddle is gonna do the job for me. But for a lot of other people that does not handle that power well means that's a more chances of pop up, more chances of hitting the ball long. So definitely, this paddle is definitely not easy to use. But for me, in my hands, is one of the best paddle I have encountered so far. The number two, obviously, the flamingo. I talk about it already. Is almost like we call a controllable Gen 3 paddle, and which is a very good alternative to the Yola Mortier 15. And yeah, Andrew screwed me up badly with the Adidas Metal Bone, because if I have a -10, I will put that -10 into in this category. Is like $300 US dollar that doesn't do shit paddle. That's even worse than the old Franklin Ben Johns paddle that Ben Johns used to have. That grit doesn't even last. That I think that's even better than the Metabone. So you're like, why are you even trying to buy that paddle? Like, that paddle has zero value, zero anything, but it's costing you $300 US dollar. Anyway, this is Andrew's fault. And then what? And then I'll explain about the Yola Magnus and the Selker 008. So the Yola Magnus, I do have it. I did play a couple of times with it. The Yola 3 Magnus, so the banded version of the Magnus, was a better paddle. I liked it a lot, this paddle, before he went to the 3S, because that when he went to the 3S, the problem with the Magnus. So first of all, the Magnus is the Tyson McGosson shape, which derived directly from the Selker Power Air in Vic. It has a fairly short handle for one-handed backhand, but it has a pretty long face. Problem with the 3S, why I did not like it, is that it does not generate the grit and the power that the original Yola 3 Magnus has, and it's not as enjoyable to play with this paddle, and I wasn't really be able to enjoy as much, and that's the reason why I put it on my number 4. And then number 5, why I did not like my the Selker 008. I did play a little bit with it, not extensively, and there's a reason of it. It advertised as a Gen 3, but does not play as a Gen 3. It feels like it's basically just a higher upper level Gen 2 paddle, and that paddle is costing $330 US. Come on, Selker, you can get something. Like, you have the technology to blow everyone apart. Like, you created the true foam, like they call the pure foam. And it's supposed to be super reliable and everything. But if you're not able to generate the power in the power game right now, the current pickleball, the power game, so sorry, this is not enough to convince us as a consumer trying to buy a paddle that's $333, rather than I can go for another example, the 11624 Power Series that costs $150 US, and it probably have a better performance than your Selker $333. So why am I going to go buy a Selker 008 than a paddle that's half of the price of your paddle, right? So that was, I think that was the biggest problem why I put it in the one of the lowest ranking. Not saying this is a bad paddle, so don't get me wrong, it's not a bad paddle, but for the paddle of this price and all the technology they have advertised, I felt that I deserve, like, the consumer deserve better.
Exactly. Well, that was fun. I'm gonna enjoy doing this as a segment as on a regular basis. Just
you really screwed me. I think I have it coming for sure. He has something real bad coming. I was like, oh my god, I should just lift the 5 somewhere.
That's the fun thing about blind ranking. You're like, okay, is there going to be something better, or is there going to be something worse, right? So it's almost like you want to almost like save your like 3 and 5 just to make
Yeah,
sure. But
that's the reason why I left the 3, but I didn't know that was like a
yeah,
-10.
that's awesome. All right, so I think that's everything for this one, guys. We will be back in 2 weeks. We'll be covering some. There's going to be some PBA stuff. If we hear anything else through the grapevine for CNPL or minor league pickleball, I think there is a couple of events coming up as well, or events that actually also happened this weekend that we can also talk about in Alberta here. So, stay tuned for that. We're going to try and make it a bi-weekly, more consistent thing. So this is probably going to come up on Tuesday the 4th. So we're going to try and aim for the 18th release date for the next one. So we'll see you guys then.
Thanks, everyone. See you next time.